The west coast of the South Island of New Zealand is referred to as the Wild West Coast due to its remote location and rugged natural beauty. In this video, I'll be going over everything you need to know to have an amazing family-friendly West Coast road trip, including hikes, activities, food recommendations, and accommodations. For overnight stays, I'd recommend 1 to 2 nights in Franz Josef and then 2 nights in Greymouth or Hokitika, so about 4 to 5 days total. There are a few things to consider when planning your West Coast road trip. The west coast of New Zealand is the wettest area of New Zealand, so I would recommend road tripping along the west coast in the summer months, which is around December to February. Even going in the summer though, you should still expect there to be a fair amount of precipitation. Therefore, I would also recommend being flexible with your plans and driving times, because the weather can change quite rapidly. We road tripped at the end of December, and as you'll see, we ended up needing to be very flexible. A popular spot to start a West Coast road trip is Queenstown or Wanaka. We started in Wanaka and drove all the way to Franz Josef, which is about a 4-hour drive. There are a number of stops you'll want to make along the way. A 1-hour drive from Wanaka is the Blue Pools track. We tried stopping here when we went in December of 2023, but the area was closed off. Looking online now, I believe it is back open to the public. The Blue Pools track is 1.5 kilometers, and you get to walk through gorgeous native forest and over a swinging bridge that crosses the Makarora River. Then follow a boardwalk to a viewing platform that looks over the Blue Pools. It looks like a great, family-friendly short hike. The next landmark is the Gates of Haast, which is a series of rapids on the Haast River found in Mount Aspiring National Park. It's about a 1 to 1.5 hour drive from Wanaka, depending on the weather conditions, or about a 20-minute drive from the Blue Pools. You'll cross the Gates of Haast Bridge that goes over the impressive gorge. There's a parking lot on the highway right after the bridge if you want to get out to admire the view. Next stop is Thunder Creek Falls, which is just past the Gates of Haast, about a 1-minute drive. The waterfall is in Mount Aspiring National Park and is located in the Haast River Valley. It's great for kids because the walk is easy. It's only 200 meters and takes about 5 minutes of walking along a paved path. Our 2-year-old daughter walked most of it. You get to walk through beautiful, dense Silver Beach forest. Our daughter loved to stop to look at all the interesting plants. You'll get to a viewing platform that is above the Haast River. Thunder Creek Falls is quite impressive. It's 28 meters tall. I thought it looked very pretty with all the trees framing it. After stretching your legs at the falls, you'll get back on the road. The drive along State Highway 6 was so cool. I actually really loved that it was so rainy. The clouds hanging low over the mountains gave such a cool effect. About 40 minutes later is the next stop, and it's the town of Haast. Haast is a small settlement between the Tasman Sea and the Great Southern Alps. It's known for its untouched natural beauty. There's a small cafe called the Spiker Cafe and also a small food center called On the Spot, which are right beside each other. We stopped for a treat at the cafe and there was a bathroom there as well. After another 2 hours of driving, you'll arrive in Franz Josef. Franz Josef Glacier, which is a 5-minute drive from town, is sitting in the incredible Westland Tai Potini National Park and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The town of Franz Josef is surrounded by thick rainforest and is incredibly stunning. It was really neat to be in such a remote area with so much beauty. As a note, Franz Josef accommodations are known for being quite pricey. We stayed at the Terrace in Franz Josef and it was very clean and quiet. Our room had 2 bedrooms, living room, a small kitchen, and dining table, and a bathroom. We ended up using a Hotels.com free night for this stay. Without the free night, it would have been just over $400 Canadian for the night. There is a main street in Franz Josef with some shops and restaurants. There's also a small 4-square supermarket if you're in need of any supplies, but I'd recommend stocking up in Wanaka or Queenstown on anything you might need before heading out. As I mentioned earlier, you might need to be flexible with your plans due to the weather conditions. We ended up having to stay in when we arrived in Franz Josef due to the pouring rain. We ordered to go from Alice May Restaurant, which serves traditional homemade New Zealand food, and I would highly recommend it. It also has great reviews online. We enjoyed the garlic bread, bangers and mash, and the braised lamb shanks. It's also a very short walk from the terrace. Now I'll be going over some hikes that you should do around Franz Josef. A must-do hike is the Lake Matheson circuit. It's a 30-minute drive from Franz Josef. You'll want to turn onto Cook Flat Road in the middle of Fox Glacier Township and go 5 kilometers down this road, then turn right onto the side road to Lake Matheson. Lake Matheson is surrounded by ancient forest. It's known for its mirror views of Mount Cook and Mount Tasman. It's able to reflect the mountains due to the dark brown color of the water. To get the best reflections in the lake, you'll want to come at dawn or dusk on a clear day. There's a large parking lot at the start of the hike and bathrooms are available here. There's also the Lake Matheson Cafe and a gift shop. These weren't open when we did this hike because it was Christmas Day. There's a few options for hikes you can do. You can do a shorter, wheelchair-friendly option, which goes to the jetty viewpoint and is about 2.4 kilometers in length, where you'll get to see the beautiful mountain reflections. I would recommend the longer option, which is the lake circuit. The circuit is 4.4 kilometers in distance, 240 feet in elevation gain, and takes about 1 hour and 30 minutes. On this hike, you'll first cross the Clearwater Suspension Bridge. You'll then walk through beautifully dense forest to the jetty viewpoint. Here, if the conditions are right, you'll get to see the mountains reflected in the dark waters. Unfortunately, the weather was so rainy and cloudy when we went, we didn't get to see this, but it was still worth it and so gorgeous. You'll then continue further around the lake and get more chances to admire the reflections. You'll get to see a lookout point called the View of Views at the top end of the lake, and another lookout called Reflection Island. As you can see, we did not get to see these amazing mountain reflections, but it was such a cool experience. I loved walking through the dense rainforest and just listening to all the sounds. It was so peaceful. The air was also so fresh and crisp. Boardwalks were also fun to walk along and made for some great pictures and videos. I would definitely make time for this hike in your itinerary. The other hike that you'll want to do is the Franz Josef Glacier Valley hike, which is a 5-minute drive from the town of Franz Josef. This walk is about 1.7 kilometers or a 30-minute return trail. This short hike takes you to a viewpoint that looks over the Franz Josef Glacier Valley. From this point, you can see the upper portion of the glacier. As a note, the glacier has continued to recede over the years, so you'll only be able to see a small portion of it. Because of the changing course of the river, you can't continue further up the valley by foot. When you arrive in the parking lot for the hike, there will be a sign that gives a daily update on the conditions of the glacier, such as how the hiking conditions are. There are warnings that hazards are always present in the valley, such as flooding and rock falls. Unfortunately, when we got there, it was absolutely pouring rain. We tried to start hiking, and even with rain gear on, we were getting soaked, and our daughter was really unhappy. We had to make the call to just not do the hike, which was quite sad. We are hoping we can come back to do it at some point. The next stop on your road trip is Greymouth, and it's about a 2-hour and 10-minute drive from Franz Josef. Greymouth is the largest town in the west coast region of the South Island. Its population is about 8,600 people. The town is located at the mouth of the Grey River, hence its name. On your west coast adventure, you may be debating whether to stay in Greymouth or the smaller town of Hokitika. When researching, I found that Greymouth had more options for larger accommodations for families and easier access to grocery stores, restaurants, and playgrounds. We were also here right over Christmas, which meant we had quite limited options for hotels. For accommodations in Greymouth, I'd recommend Coleraine Suites and Apartments. We found our room was very clean and spacious. Our apartment had a bathroom, 1 bedroom, a kitchenette, and a living room. Just down the road from Coleraine Suites and Apartments is Dixon Park. It's a beautiful park and playground that's great for little and big kids. We love that there was a fenced-in playground for smaller kids and then a larger playground for the bigger kids. There is also lots of shade provided by the large trees, and there's some beautiful flowers. There's also tons of green space for running around and a creek. I believe the park also has a paddling pool, but it was not open when we were there in December of 2023. It's a lovely place to spend an afternoon if you have kids. New World Grocery Store is also a 9-minute walk or 1-minute drive in the other direction from the apartments, which was perfect for stocking up. Now, here are some must-do activities around Greymouth. Hokitika Gorge is an absolute must-do if you're on the west coast of New Zealand. It's a 1-hour drive from Greymouth. There's a large parking lot with bathrooms, and it's free to do this hike. I'd recommend trying to get here early to mid-morning because there are tour buses that come through. In October of 2023, the iconic lower suspension bridge was closed off due to safety issues, and we were here in December of 2023, so we couldn't do the full 2-kilometer loop, but we got to see a large portion of the gorge. I looked, and it seems the bridge reopened in June of 2025, so the full hike should be available to do now. When we did the hike, the first part of the hike you walk through is dense hardwood forest. I love doing hikes through the rainforest in New Zealand. The forest is so beautiful and peaceful. There are some great small lookout points along this part of the hike. After about 30 minutes, you'll get to the Hokitika Gorge Upper Suspension Bridge. Here, you'll get absolutely magnificent views of the green-blue waters of the Hokitika River as it flows through the Hokitika Gorge. As a note, the water isn't always the same shade of green-blue, or it might not be turquoise at all. When we went, it was more of an icy/milky green-blue color. It gets its vibrant color because of its glacial origin. There's finely ground rock particles called rock flour that are suspended in the meltwater. When sunlight reflects off these particles, it creates this stunning color. When we did the hike, it was fairly cloudy, hence the color was a bit more subdued. It had also been raining a lot in the previous days, and that will dilute the water, giving less of an effect as well. If you go when it's raining or very soon after a heavy rainfall, then the water might not be turquoise at all. After the bridge, you continue to walk through the forest along some curved boardwalks. You'll continue to see views of the river and the gorge. You'll then get to a small bridge that takes you across to a viewing platform. You can get a beautiful view of the gorge upstream of the lower bridge. You can also go down some stairs to some rocks that are right on the water. There are some warning signs here for safety. We got a great view of the water here. Since the lower bridge was closed when we went, to get back to the parking lot we headed back the way we came. You should be able to do the full loop now though. If you are looking for a short trail at the gorge with wheelchair access, there is a viewing point of the gorge that you can get to from the parking lot, and it takes about 4 minutes to get there. The next hike I would recommend is the West Coast Treetop Walk. This walk is a 45-minute drive from Greymouth, or about 35 minutes from the Hokitika Gorge, if you want to do both in the same day. The walk costs 32 New Zealand dollars for adults and $18 for children 15 years and under. The treetop walkway is 20 meters above the forest floor, so if you are scared of heights, this is definitely not the activity for you. You get to stroll along a 450-meter long steel walkway above the treetops. You get great views of the forest and all the diverse flora and fauna as you make your way along the walkway. There are some lookout points where you can view Lake Wanaka, the snow-capped Southern Alps, and also the Tasman Sea. You can also then walk up a 47-meter high tower, which is a bit of a workout, especially if you are carrying a toddler on your back. At the top of the tower, you get stunning views. The day we went, there was a fair bit of cloud cover, but we still got to see a lot. If you have older kids, you can also do a combination treetop walk and zipline adventure. It was fun watching people on the zipline as we were walking. This, of course, will cost more. At the end of our walk, we had a drink at the Wanaka Cafe found near the parking lot. The outdoor area was great for kids. They had toddler bikes, hula hoops, and balls to play with. Another stop I would recommend is visiting the town of Hokitika and Hokitika Beach. Hokitika is just 15 minutes from the Treetop Walk or 30 minutes from Greymouth. Hokitika is a cool little town with a population of about 3,000 people that's known for its thriving arts and crafts scene. There are many artisan shops with unique jewelry, pottery, and other handmade items. I would recommend checking out the Hokitika Museum and the Hokitika Beach and Beach sign. There's a walkway right beside the water, and there's usually sculptures that you can admire. The second last stop on your West Coast adventure is one you do not want to miss. It's the Punakaiki, Pancake Rocks, and Blowholes walk. This stop is a 40-minute drive from Greymouth. There's a parking lot across the road, but we did have to drive around for a while to get a spot when we went. The rocks and blowholes are a coastal rock formation at Punakaiki. The walk is an easy 1.1-kilometer loop and can take about 20 minutes, but you'll want to add on a lot more time to fully appreciate the views. You get to walk along a paved path and admire the limestone formations of Pancake Rocks and Blowholes. The first thing I noticed was how gorgeous the bright blue water of the sea is. Of course, the formations were super cool to see. There are so many different spectacular formations. The rocks, which date back 30 million years, formed as layers on the bottom of the sea and eventually rose up under seismic action. The water has been eroding the layers over the years, leaving a pancake stack of harder limestone. The blowholes formed from a mixture of compressed water and air escaping through the caverns below, and then being forced upwards, which creates a huge wall of spray. We found that you have to wait a bit to see a giant spray, and they are easy to miss. With an impatient toddler, we couldn't wait too long, but we did get to see some small sprays. There are certain conditions where you'll get to see more sprays, such as high tide. It was neat to see how powerful the Tasman Sea is and how hard it crashes into the limestone formations. Across the street is the Pancake Rocks Cafe if you're hungry. They had a family section seating that had some toys and books, which our daughter really appreciated. The last stop on your West Coast adventure is only a 7-minute drive from Punakaiki, and it's a spectacular lookout that I'm not sure how to pronounce, but I'll put the name up on the screen. It's a gorgeous scenic lookout on State Highway 6 that offers stunning views of the bay and surrounding coastline. There's a short walk up to the viewing platform and some benches there. From the lookout, you could continue your New Zealand road trip up to Nelson and Abel Tasman, which is what we did. Another popular option is to head back towards Greymouth and take Arthur's Pass across the South Island to Christchurch. If you liked this video, please remember to subscribe to my channel if you're interested in more New Zealand travel content and family travel content in general. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.